All rise. Veuillez vous lever. Please be seated. Veuillez vous asseoir.
Will the court officer please announce the hearing?
Mr. President, Your Honors, the ceremony for the solemn undertaking of the Registrar of the International Criminal Court is now in session. La cérémonie de serment de prestation de serment du greffier de la Cour pénale internationale est ouverte.
Thank you very much. Dear fellow judges, Madam Vice President of the Assembly of State Parties, Mr. Prosecutor, Madam Deputy Prosecutor, Mr. Deputy Prosecutor, Madam President of the ABA ICC Bar Association, Mr. Registrar, Mr. Registrar-elect, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to the solemn undertaking of the new Registrar of the International Criminal Court, Mr. Osvaldo Zavala Giler. Mr. Zavala Giler, who is of Ecuadorian nationality, was elected to the position of the Registrar by the judges of the court on the 10th of February. His term in office will begin on Monday, the 17th of April 2023, and will run for 5 years. Mr. Zavala Giler succeeds Mr. Peter Lewis, whose term of office as Registrar is coming to end on the 16th of April. Pursuant to Article 45 of the Rome Statute, before taking up his duties, the new Registrar must make an open court a solemn undertaking to exercise his functions impartially and conscientiously. That is the purpose of today's hearing. The change of Registrar is a significant moment for our institution. Under the authority of the court's president, the ICC Registrar plays a key role in enabling the court to perform its mandate. In accordance with Article 43 of the Rome Statute, the Registrar leads the non-judicial administration and servicing of the court without prejudice of the function and powers of the prosecutor. As such, the Registrar oversees a wide range of critical services for the International Criminal Court, including the protection of victims and witnesses, security and safety, information technology, translation and interpretation, court management, budget preparation, financial services, country offices, and much, much more. Crucially, the Registrar is also responsible for facilitating the fullest participation of the defense and the victims of the court's proceedings, including through legal aid. For this and for other reasons, it is essential that the Registrar remains neutral at all times and upholds the court's independence and impartiality. Mr. Zavala Giler comes to the post of Registrar with a wealth of highly relevant experience. He has served in progressively senior functions in the ICC's registry for more than 11 years, gaining first-hand insight into all the different responsibilities as well as challenges that the registrar's job carries. During this time, he has shown great skill and commitment in performing his duties. I have no doubt that Mr. Osvaldo Zavala Giler is a person to whom Peter Lewis can hand the baton with confidence at the end of his mandate. On that note, I wish to pay tribute to the fantastic job that Peter Lewis has done at the ICC's registrar over the last 5 years. His term was anything but easy. Unprecedented threats were made against the ICC and the court's personnel. We were confronted with a global pandemic. We went through the demanding review process to enhance our operations, and we dealt with increasing budget pressure while facing a significant increase in our judicial activity. Dear Peter, I am truly appreciative of the able stewardship you showed in navigating these stormy waters, enabling the court to continue discharging its mandate at all times. At the same time, you showed great commitment to improving the ICC as a workplace for all personnel of the court. As such, you have truly worked for the good of the institution on the inside as well as on the outside. Thank you once more for your distinguished service. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, is required by our rules of procedure and evidence. The solemn undertaking of the new registrar will be witnessed by the Vice President of the Assembly of State Parties to the Rome Statute. Before proceeding further, I invite the Vice President of the Assembly, Ambassador Katerina Sequencova, to address us.
Mr. President, Vice Presidents, Mr. Prosecutor, Deputy Prosecutors, Mr. Registrar, Mr. Registrar-elect, Madam President of the ICC Bar Association, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the President of the Assembly of States Parties, Ms. Silvia Fernandez de Gurmendi, I'm honored to be here as Vice President of the Assembly to witness the solemn undertaking by Mr. Osvaldo Zavala Giler as Registrar of the International Criminal Court. I would like to first briefly acknowledge the outgoing Registrar, Mr. Peter Lewis, for his substantial contribution to the Court and the Rome Statute system. The last 5 years, during extremely difficult circumstances for the world and the Court, has included attacks against the Court and its officials, as well as unprecedented global health crisis. All that taking place with the background of ever-increasing workload of the Court and changes in its leadership. Mr. Lewis has addressed all risks and opportunities presented to him with extraordinary competence, serenity, and humor. He leaves a memorable legacy in the field of international criminal justice, for which we in the Assembly are particularly grateful. We wish you the very best in your new endeavors. I thank you, Mr. Lewis, for your outstanding work, and I thank you, dear Peter, for your friendship. The Registrar of the International Criminal Court is a key figure in the Rome Statute system. The Registrar is principal administrative officer of the court, responsible for the non-judicial aspects of the administration and servicing of the court. The Registrar supports the work of the judiciary and the prosecutor, as well as the Assembly, the Trust Fund for Victims, and the other subsidiary bodies. The Rome Statute entrusted the judges of the court with the crucial role of electing the registrar. But the Assembly also plays a role in the process. Pursuant to the Rules of Procedure and Evidence, on 17 June 2022, the President of the Court submitted to the President of the Assembly a shortlist of 12 candidates for registrar, along with a request for any recommendations. The Assembly adopted a recommendation on the election of the registrar at its 21st session in December 2022. I had the distinct honor to coordinate the elaboration of that recommendation, which contained some novel elements of key importance to the states parties in their constant quest to strengthen the Rome Statute system. Subsequently, on 10 February 2023, the judges elected Mr. Osvaldo Zavala Giler as the 5th registrar of the court for a period of 5 years. Mr. Zavala Giler is well known to many of us, including states parties, the court, the host state, and the civil society. His interest in the ICC and in international criminal justice was spurred by his paternal grandfather, an eminent Ecuadorian criminal lawyer. We have followed Mr. Zavala Giler's impressive career from its beginning in New York, where he worked very actively for the Coalition for the ICC, to the range of important roles which he has held within the registry. His work over the years on the court's budgetary process has brought him into regular contact with the Assembly and its subsidiary bodies, both here and in New York. He thus has in-depth understanding of the key issues for the court and for states parties in both The Hague and New York. I speak for all of us when I say that Mr. Zavala Giler has been an excellent colleague and representative of the court, and that we are confident that his knowledge, experience, and interpersonal skills will be extremely valuable in his new role. His election also brings greater regional diversity to the post of the registrar that was called for by the states parties. Mr. Zavala Giler, on behalf of the Assembly, allow me to express my sincere congratulations on your elections to the position of registrar of our court. New challenges will surely arise, but as you assume your new duties, I would like to assure you of the full support of the Assembly and its states parties in the steadfast defense of the Rome Statute, the court, its officials, and staff. We shall not relent in furtherance of our common fight against impunity. I wish you all the success in your new role in the court. I thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. We will now proceed with the solemn undertaking. I invite Mr. Zavala Giler to proceed to the lectern, and I invite the registrar, Mr. Peter Lewis, to hand him the text of the solemn undertaking. Thank you. Madam Vice President of the Assembly, I invite you to come forward to witness the solemn undertaking. Mr. Osvaldo Zavala Giler, please raise your right hand to make your solemn undertaking in accordance with Article 45 of the Rome Statute and Rule 5 of the Rules and Procedure and Evidence of this Court.
and exercise my powers as Registrar of the International Criminal Court honorably, faithfully, impartially, and conscientiously, and I will respect the confidentiality of the investigations and prosecutions and the secrecy of deliberations.
Congratulations. Mr. Zavala Giler, I now invite you to take the floor.
Madam Vice President of the Assembly of States Parties, Mr. President of the Court, Madam Vice President of the Court, Honorable Judges, Mr. Prosecutor, Madam Deputy Prosecutor, Mr. Deputy Prosecutor, Mr. Registrar, dear Peter, Madam President of the ICC Bar Association, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, dear friends. At the outset, I would like to thank the honorable judges of the court for the responsibility they have entrusted in me and for the privilege to continue to put to the service of this organization my institutional knowledge and the lessons I have learned over the past year, now as registrar. Allow me this moment to also recognize the presence and thank a few important people for me here today. My parents, Osvaldo and Jacqueline, and my husband, Daniel. It is often said when expressing gratitude, I could not have done this without you. But perhaps there is collective wisdom in such habitual phrases. I know I carry you in who I am. Your honors, excellencies, colleagues, the work of the court has always been complex. How can it not be when its mandate is to bring justice for the gravest crimes of concerns to the international community? Our institution faced new challenges, unprecedented from those that came before. Every step we take makes us face new complexities and dynamics to learn from and to find in this an opportunity to grow stronger. We are now facing new challenges of unprecedented difficulty and complexity. We will be shaped by these new challenges, and we will find in them an opportunity to strengthen our legacy and our legitimacy in the same way in which the important challenges we have faced in recent years have shaped our experiences and our practices. I would like here to recognize and thank Peter Lewis, our registrar, for his steady, calm, and able steering of our institution in times of uncertainty, threats, and austerity. Dear Peter, this court owes you a great debt of gratitude for your stewardship, and you will leave an unforgettable legacy as our fourth registrar. I usually say that we should serve the ICC knowing that none of us is individually bigger than the court. But Peter, your time here has made this court bigger. Honorable judges, as registrar, my calling will be to continue building on the legitimacy of the ICC by ensuring its operational sustainability and strengthening the trust and respect for its mandate. I stand ready and able to take this important step in my long-standing service to the court by transforming into opportunities the vast institutional experience we have to meet the challenges ahead. To achieve this, I am committed to devoting to the court and to those it was established to serve my vision, my experience, my energy, and my skills to support the operational effectiveness of its judicial functions and thus contribute to preserving its legacy and safeguarding its future. Under the authority of the President, I am committed to honoring the confidence the judges have placed in me by further strengthening and streamlining the various duties and services to the judicial proceedings and the administration of the court that fall under the remit of the registry, working with all parties and participants in a fair, neutral, and expeditious way. As registrar, I will dutifully observe my responsibilities to provide the required support to promote the rights of the defense, consistent with the principles of fair trial, as defined in the statute, as well as to enable effective and meaningful participation of victims in the proceedings. Mr. President, Mr. Prosecutor, I am committed to ensure, together with you, that the court's governance reinforces the principles that sustain judicial and prosecutorial independence, while at the same time ensuring a stable and precise systemic cohesion under the one court principle. The one court principle is not a mere political aspiration. It is an essential binding force that allows for institutional cohesion. Without the one court principle as a grounding exigency of the system, the nature of the mandate of the court's organs would likely allow them to drift further away from each other, risking institutional fragmentation. Ensuring this fragile balance by both continuously seeking to strengthen and safeguard the court's and prosecutorial independence, as well as progressively improving the inter-organ processes and mechanisms that enable the court's united functioning, will remain a key focus of the court under our joint leadership. Excellence.
Excellencies, distinguished representatives of states parties, this court is your court. We are the guardian of its mandates, and you, our states parties, are the guardians of this organization and its legitimacy. As registrar, I am deeply aware of the responsibilities that I have towards the states parties and the Assembly. I know that your support is not a given, and I do not take it for granted. I understand and I appreciate your commitment that I have watched grow over the years. As we know, our court is financed by public funds. This only increases our responsibility to ensure that we implement our mandate in an efficient manner. As registrar, I shall also be guided by the duty to preserve the legitimacy of the court, and I shall work closely to this end with the states parties and all our partners in order to ensure that the court can fulfill its mandate. Allow me to approach you in seeking your support. The court needs your cooperation in order to reinforce and fulfill the judicial enterprise that we have undertaken here in this building and in the country offices. The court needs your support in order to fulfill its mandate and deliver on the investments that you have made.
Colleagues, the staff, interns, and all personnel at the court, we will only deliver effectively if we deliver with and through our staff and those who work at the ICC, by supporting, equipping, and enabling them to fulfill their work. This means the court's effectiveness, the sustainability of its operations, and its long-term legitimacy are directly and primarily reliant on the work of its personnel. It is the commitment and dedication of those working at the court that ensures that the operations are carried out even in complex and challenging circumstances. As a result, to safeguard the operational sustainability of the ICC, we must guarantee a productive, healthy, diverse, respectful, motivated, and committed workforce. As an organization, the court owes a duty of care to its staff as a matter of right, but it is also substantially benefits from the collective well-being of its workforce. Building a model of modern public administration that embodies the world's evolving values and ideals and encourages a safe working environment that promotes professionalism, respect, diversity, equality, and inclusion is not only an aspirational duty based on principle, but rather a fundamental prerequisite of the success of the court. Diversity in the workplace, including gender balance, geographical representation, and multilingualism, should not be seen as a mere exogenous expectation. It must be a value engraved in our institutional DNA. Our culture is a culture of diversity. As the first Latin American to be elected registrar, as a member of the LGBTQ community, as a staff of this court, as a public servant and a servant of the law, I am proud to serve our court by your side, and I am humbled and honored by this opportunity. Civil society, NGO colleagues, you're not only the conscience of the institution, but often its loudest voice. I learned to serve the court with you. My commitment and engagement to justice and the court was forged among civil society. Civil society organizations planted the seed of the court. They guided and safeguarded our growth, and today they show us the path from our actions to our purpose. Thank you for your support as it helps this court succeed. Thank you for your criticism as it makes this court better. Thank you for your courage as it helps justice be. To those the court was established to serve, to the victims and affected communities of atrocities around the world, we bear witness of a time when the demands for justice surpass the capacities of the international community to address them. But let us not forget that the notion that a conflict, that widespread impunity of those wielding power, the notion that a war could be addressed through fair and impartial justice is a relatively new aspiration. And we live today in a time when this aspiration of justice has rightly so become a demand for justice. It is now our turn to catch up with those demands, to collectively strengthen not only this court, but also our national and international institutions to meet these demands and to set new and higher aspirations, to progress. We should not take for granted how far we have come, not only as an institution in the span of our short history, but also when we see this court as a reflection of human progress, we see how far we have come. Do not get me wrong. I understand the setbacks. We understand the limitations. But because we should live in a world in which justice is fully mainstreamed as a pillar of peace and security and reconciliation, because we should live in a world where justice is taken for granted, we cannot take the ICC for granted. We cannot take the Rome Statute system for granted. Thank you.
Thank you for these remarks, Mr. Zavala Giler. I appreciate your thoughtful reflections on the task ahead of you, and I look forward to work with you once you assume your office on 17th of April this year. I trust my colleagues share this sentiment. The solemn undertaking of the Registrar of the International Criminal Court has hereby been concluded in accordance with the Article 45 of the Rome Statute. The hearing is hereby adjourned. All attendees are invited to join a modest reception in the lobby.
All rise, vous levez.